Young parliamentarians, wish you all the very best. And at the end, here we have an executive panel of judges. Our vice principals are here, Sunita madam and Akansha madam. They will select 6 best speakers also. Okay? Wish you all the very best. Thank you. Now I hand over the mic to our parliamentarian.
एक बार और फोल्ड करो बेटा, एक बार और फोल्ड करो.
Today's first item in the list of business is oath-taking. Secretary General, please.
श्रीमती राधिका राजाराम कर्नाटका की बेल्लारी निर्वाचन क्षेत्र से निर्वाचित हैं, जिन्हें अब मैं शपथ लेने के लिए आमंत्रित करना चाहूंगी। राधिका राजाराम, कृपया। महोदया, आप किस भाषा में शपथ लेना चाहेंगे?
कन्नड़ में। ನಾನು ಸಂಸತ್ತಿನ ಸದಸ್ಯೆ ರಾಧಿಕಾ ರಾಜಾರಾಮ್ ಮತ್ತು ರಾಜ್ಯಪಾಲ ಪರಿಷತ್ತಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಥಾನವನ್ನು ತುಂಬಲು ಅಭ್ಯರ್ಥಿಯಾಗಿ ನಾಮನಿರ್ದೇಶನಗೊಂಡಿದ್ದೇನೆ. ನಾನು ದೇವರ ಮೇಲೆ ಪ್ರತಿಜ್ಞೆ ಮಾಡಿ ಹೇಳುತ್ತೇನೆ, ಭಾರತದ ಸಾರ್ವಭೌಮಿಕ ಮತ್ತು ಸಾಮಗ್ರತೆಯನ್ನು ಎತ್ತಿ ಹಿಡಿಯುತ್ತೇನೆ ಎಂದು. It is my duty to inform the House about the sad demise of our former cabinet minister, Mr. Srinivas Raman. He had learned his complexities at a very young age of 25 when he was elected as the cabinet minister of Karnataka. His sad demise is a great shock to our nation, and I express my deep condolence and sympathize with the bereaved family.
आदरणीय सदस्यों, श्री श्रीनिवास प्रसाद एक मंजे हुए राजनीतिक एवं निपुण कार्यकर्ता होने के साथ साथ सच्चे अर्थों में एक समाजवादी थे। उनका यह आकस्मिक निधन पार्टी के नेताओं को ही नहीं बल्कि पूरे देशवासियों के लिए एक दुख की बात है एवं उनके परिवारजनों के लिए एक चिरस्थायी कमी भी है। श्री श्रीनिवास प्रसाद इस सरकार के पहले कार्यकाल में ही एक सफल नेता के रूप में संपर्क में आने वाले सभी का दिल जीत गया था। उनके महान सेवाओं तथा सुमार्गदर्शन के लिए हम सभी सदैव नतमस्तक हैं। इस अवसर पर मैं आप सभी की ओर से उनके बिछड़े परिवार के प्रति गहरी संवेदना प्रकट करते हुए उनकी दिवंगत आत्मा के लिए प्रार्थना भी अर्पित करता हूँ।
Honorable members, I remember the time we spent together as parliamentarians. He followed a principled life that led to his success. Mr. Srinivas Prasad had received several awards, including that of the Outstanding Parliamentarian. He was the only leader to receive such an exceptional award, and undoubtedly, he was one of the finest parliamentarians we ever had. At this juncture, I pay tribute to Mr. Srinivas Prasad, whose demise is a real shock to all of us. I would like to express my deepest condolences with the bereaved family.
The House may stand in silence for a while as a mark of respect to the departed soul. Secretary General will convey the message of condolence to the departed family.
Yes, ma'am.
Introduction of new leaders. Prime Minister, please.
सभापति महोदय, मुझे आपके सामने और आपके माध्यम से सदन और सहयोगियों के सामने नए मंत्रियों के परिचय कराने में बड़ी खुशी होगी। श्रीमती हर्षिनी कौर पंजाब के जलंधर निर्वाचन क्षेत्र से नागर विमानन मंत्री के रूप में चुनी गई। श्री पांडितुरई तमिलनाडु के कांचीपुरम निर्वाचन क्षेत्र से कृषि एवं किसान कल्याण मंत्री के रूप में नियुक्त हुए हैं।
Now it is the time for question hour. Question number 101, Mr. Madhav Mohanty, please.
Honorable Speaker, the National Education Policy introduced on 29 July 2020 needs a thorough revision because there is a clear gap between the focus and the quality of the education and the actual skill that is required. Will the Honorable Minister of Education be pleased to state A. Has the country upgraded its infrastructure to cater to the needs of these students as envisaged by National Education Policy? B. Is the education system equipped to conduct a fair assessment of competency-based strategies? Does it have a structure ready to assess the knowledge and skills of the students?
Minister of Education, please.
The National Education Policy 2020 entails an increase in public investments in education sector to 6% GDP. Further, public-private partnership will promptly step in. Also, schools can register through the Ganjali portal and hire voluntary skills and services. The NEP has an assessment strategy will be done through a multi-dimensional report of the students.
Any more supplementary questions, Mr. Madhav Mohanty?
Will this paradigm shift from content to competency-based strategies? How will this benefit lakhs of children coming from poor background without access to modern technology?
Minister of Education, please.
The children from poor background can access educational experiences from several channels like Doordarshan, pictures, etc. PPP will work properly and rectify all the problems.
Any more supplementary questions? Anupriya Singh, please.
बड़े चलो वीर तुम, हर कदम संग संग है देश अपना, हर कदम संग संग है देश अपना। आदरणीय स्पीकर महोदय, इस सकारात्मक सोच को अगर मैं सच मान लूं तो मैं यह पूछना चाहती हूँ कि क्या हमारा देश इन लाखों करोड़ों पेशेवर प्रशिक्षित उम्मीदवारों को भी आगामी वर्षों में नौकरी दे सकता है?
Minister of Education, please.
आदरणीय स्पीकर महोदय, व्यवसायिक पाठ्यक्रम उम्मीदवारों को उद्योग अनुकूल कौशल प्रदान करते हैं। ये सीधे उद्योग और नौकरी उन्मुख है। Honorable Speaker, plastic is a more destructive weapon than the nuclear bomb. Its impact can shatter centuries of generations to come. The previous bans on plastic have been like a light tone on water. So, will the Minister of Environment, Forest and Climate Change be pleased to state A. The measures the government has planned for the proper implementation of this ban on single-use plastic, and B. What is the substitute suggested for single-use plastic, and C. Whether this substitute is eco-friendly, durable, lightweight and cost-effective.
Minister of Environment, Forest, Climate Change, please. Honorable Speaker, Madam. A. The formulation of plan is already done with discussion with qualified and experienced personnel of the ministry. A special research wing studied the deficiencies of the already implemented plan and also pros and cons of the new plan to be implemented. For the proper implementation of ban on plastic, the work is being distributed among all state governments in the country. B. The government has identified compostable plastic as one of the alternatives to single-use plastic. C. As cited earlier, the production of combustible plastic will be increased by supporting the industries. Apart from this, the traditional material like jute bag, leaf plates, bamboo cutlery, and new material like baggage, banana stem-based products, etc. are now widely available in the market.
India generates million tons of single-use plastic waste every year. Is the government aware of the magnitude of the problem? How and where will this waste be dumped?
Minister of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, please. Honorable Speaker, Madam. Government will be facilitate the collection of all these products from the industries by giving needful payment. Sorting hubs will be operated by every state and recycled plastic generated and it will be sent to recyclable unit. Rest of the plastic will be used for landfills. Any more supplementary questions? Mrs. Pallavi Gupta, please.
Honorable Speaker, Madam, is there any plan to rehabilitate the 40 lakh traffickers who earn their bread solely by selling plastic waste? If so, the details thereof.
Minister of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, please. Honorable Speaker, Madam. Government has enacted Unorganized Workers Social Security Act for welfare of traffickers and other unorganized workers. No more supplementary questions. Question number 103. Mrs. Anushka Bhattacharya, please.
A true soldier fights not because he hates what's in front of him. A true soldier fights not because he hates what is in front of him, because he loves what's behind him. Honorable Speaker, ma'am, in a country where defense forces are synonymous with loyalty.
Question now. Please come to this straight point.
Okay, ma'am. My question towards the defense minister is, if the Agnipath scheme will now weaken the security of the country and the quality of the armed forces, is the government aware? Is the government aware of the protects being held against this scheme? And if so, whether the government proposes to review the same?
Honorable Speaker, Madam, the Agnipath scheme will increase the opportunity of the youth to serve in the armed forces rather than reducing them. In the coming years, the recruitment of Agniveers will increase 3 times as compared to the current recruitment. Till 2026, the total intake to be capped is 1.75 lakh. Agniveers will be trained rigorously and serve within the capacities of the armed forces. As far as compromising the quality of the defense armed forces goes, the government believes that such thinking insults the character and values of the Indian armed forces. Even at present, millions of people retire from the forces with their skill. But till date, there are no such instances of them joining anti-national forces or terrorist groups. भारतीय रेलवे मंत्रालय के अनुसार अग्निपथ विरोधियों के बीच हुए हिंसात्मक प्रतिशोध के कारण 300 से ज्यादा ट्रेन सेवाएं बुरी तरह प्रभावित हुई और 200 से ज्यादा ट्रेन सेवाएं रद्द कर दी गई। इस व्यापक प्रतिशोध के फलस्वरूप हमारी सरकार ने अग्निवीरों की ऊपरी आयु को बढ़ाकर 23 वर्ष कर दिया है। हमारी सरकार ने यह घोषणा की है कि अग्निवीरों की 4 साल की अवधि की पूर्ति के पश्चात 25% युवाओं को भारतीय सेना में नौकरी के साथ 75% युवाओं को एक भारी रकम दी जाएगी और सरकारी नौकरियां एवं प्राइवेट सेक्टर में उनके पदों की आरक्षण की जाएगी।
Any more supplementary questions? Mrs. Anushka Bhattacharya.
Details of any other steps that the government proposes to take to mitigate the discontent generated out of Agnibath.
Defense Minister, please.
Honorable Speaker, Madam, the demobilized Agniveers will be given preference in the police recruitment as per the Chief Ministers of Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Assam and Haryana. While the Minister of Home Affairs announced that the successfully exceeding soldiers will be given priority in the recruitment of Assam Rifles and Defence Force.
Any more supplementary questions? Mr. Jagat Prasad, please.
Honorable Speaker, Madam, it is understood that a young soldier will adapt himself to learn new technology. But how will this scheme benefit the armed forces?
The move will result in substantially lower permanent forces for the country's roughly 30 lakh strong armed forces, consequently reducing the defense expense budget on government budget. Unlike traditional recruitment, Agniveers are not entitled for pension, but they will be given a significant civilian package at the end of their service. Our young military will help themselves to adapt with the new technology. In addition, a merit-based selection for the 25% Agniveers who will be completely absorbed will increase the quality of the Indian Defence Forces.
No more supplementary questions. Question hour is over and 0 hour begins. Question number 201, Mrs. Riya Chopra, please.
Honorable Speaker, Madam. On one side, the nation is celebrating its 78th anniversary of Indian independence. On the other side, millions of Indians find it difficult to fulfill their basic necessities. A sudden increase in 5% GST on all packed products like milk, curd, butter, rice, spices, which is used even by the poorest of the poor, has really shattered the entire fabric of Indian economy. Will the Honorable Minister of Finance be pleased to say, is the government not penalizing the aspirations and desires of people to buy more hygienically packed goods?
Minister of Finance, please.
Honorable Speaker, ma'am, the GST has been levied after much thought and deliberation. This 28% increase in GST was an unanimous decision accepted even by the opposition. A high-level committee has been appointed to look into this matter. This GST comes with the assurance that standardized goods will only be given. Also, there will not be any variation in the good or in the weight of the item. Tax collected will be used for the productive ventures such as upliftment of the underprivileged. Implementation will be under strict supervision of the GST Council.
Any more supplementary questions? Madam Gupta, please.
माननीय स्पीकर महोदय, यह कैसी विडंबनात्मक स्थिति है? यदि राज्य सरकारें कर की दर बढ़ाना चाहती है, तो वास्तव में उसे जीएसटी परिषद से संपर्क करना होगा। हम सब जानते हैं कि आजकल राज्यों की वित्तीय स्वायत्तता पूरी तरह से समाप्त कर दी गई है और जीएसटी द्वारा भारतीय संसद की स्थायी सर्वोच्चता को खत्म किया जा रहा है। माननीय अध्यक्ष महोदय, अब मैं यह जानना चाहता हूँ कि क्या जीएसटी परिषद ने भारतीय संसद की भूमिका को अपने कंधों में ले लिया है?
Minister of Finance, please.
Honorable Speaker, ma'am, the Union Cabinet under the chairmanship of Prime Minister have approved setting up of GST Council. The members of the Union Cabinet are the representatives of the people. So the formation of the GST Council is by the consent of the people, and one should realize that the GST Council has been constituted by the President of our country.
कृपया कोई और प्रश्न Now the papers to be laid on the table.
महोदय
नानावती मेहता कमीशन के सिफारिशों पर टिप्पणी करते समय गुजरात के एक प्रसिद्ध पत्र ने उस पर बेईमानी के उद्देश्यों का आरोप लगाया है। इसलिए मैं आपसे विनती करती हूँ कि मुझे यह मुद्दा उठाने दें।
कुमारी शिवांगी श्रीवास्तव, क्या हमने इस संबंध में नोटिस दिया है?
महोदय, आज प्रातः 10 बजे मैंने इसका नोटिस दिया है।
इसकी जांच की जाएगी और जो मेरे पास आएगा इस पर मैं विचार करूंगा और आपको अपना निर्णय भी बता दूंगा।
धन्यवाद स्पीकर महोदय।
Now the papers to be laid on the table. Now the paper to be laid on the table of the House. This is Nancy Kishore, the Deputy Minister of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, please.
महोदय, आपकी अनुमति से मैं पर्यावरण, वन एवं जलवायु मंत्रालय द्वारा प्रस्तावित हरदा ट्रिब्यूनल की ओर से पर्यावरण प्रदूषण पर की गई जांच परिणामों की एक प्रतिलिपि विशेष समिति के सामने रखने की अनुमति चाहती हूँ।
Mr. Christopher D'Souza, the Minister of State for Health and Family Affairs, please.
Sir, I would be keeping on the table a copy of the report on the measures taken to prevent the outburst of monkeypox in the month of June-July in the country.
To report the message from the upper chamber of the Youth Parliament, Secretary General, please.
Sir, I have to report the following message received from the Secretary General of the Upper Chamber of the Youth Parliament. In accordance with the previous of Rule 111 of Procedure and Conduct of Business in the Upper Chamber of the Youth Parliament, I am directed to enclose a copy of Weapons of Mass Destruction and their delivery systems. Prohibition of Unlawful Activities Amendment Bill 2025, which was being passed by the Upper Chamber as its sitting was held on July 2025.
Please lay a copy of the same on the table of the House.
Yes, sir.
Honorable members, I have to make an announcement on behalf of all honorable members and on my own behalf. I have immense pleasure extending a warm welcome to Mr. Abdullah bin Zayed Al Sahid, Mr. Nora Al Sahid, and Mr. Mohammed Al Zayyad, and the National Council who have claimed it as an honored guest. It is a high power delegation and we wish them a happy and fruitful stay in our country. I would also like to convey warm regards to the members of the Federal National Council and the friendly people of United Arab Emirates as well.
Honorable Speaker, Madam, I beg to call the attention of the Women and Child Welfare Minister into the recent atrocities against women in our country. Every day we hear heartbreaking news of atrocities against women. On August 9, a female trainee doctor was brutally raped and murdered. Her autopsy report showed that she was strangled to her death. Deeper details show that there were severe injuries to her pelvic bone, face and many other parts of the body. This case was transferred to the CBI due to the disappointing work of the Kolkata police. After being brutally raped and strangled to her death, does the poor girl only deserve a candy march? On August 13th, a school van driver from Jharkhand was arrested for raping a 3.5-year-old nursery student. I refuse to accept that these are the type of people selected for handling such small children who are too young to understand the meaning of bad touch. Recently, the media reported a 13-year-old girl who had sought refuge in a police station in Lalit, UP. After being kidnapped and subjected in an atrocious gang rape, when she went to file an FIR, she was again raped by the police officer. These horrifying crimes demonstrate an indicious trend of sexual violence committed against women in India. The statistic shows that one woman falls under victim to rape every 16 minutes. These are just some stories which are told and the rest are left untold. The relevant authorities are either unable or unwilling to ensure the safety of women and girls. The clear undermining of basic human rights must be met with a firm answer from the Commission. And I wonder if my nation, which glorifies women as goddesses, is going back to the dark ages.
Minister of Women and Child Welfare, please.
We respect the women of our nation. We salute the women of our motherland. Honorable Speaker, Madam, our government has zero tolerance policy on anything that tarnishes the dignity and reputation of the women folk. So every single case is addressed objectively and appropriate steps are taken whenever a complaint is reported. Increase in rape cases throughout the country shakes the confidence and conscience of the society and nation. It's our duty to put it to an end so that the women in our country feel safe and secure. Such serious and sensitive cases need to be addressed in a comprehensive manner through strict central legislations prescribing exemplary punishment against those involved in such dastardly crimes. Setting up a fast-track special courts for speedy trial ensures due justice in such cases. And the trial of such cases should preferably be completed within 15 days. We also set up several measures to ensure the safety of women in their workplaces. The measures include formation of retiring rooms and CCTV monitored safe zones for women, especially those working night shift. It also ensures the safety of doctors in their workplaces. We also have an appeal to all to not discourage women from speaking out and narrating their ordeals.
Mr. Sahil Marolia, please.
आदरणीय अध्यक्ष महोदय, हमारा परम पूज्य राष्ट्रपिता महात्मा गांधी ने कहा था, हम तभी स्वतंत्र कहलाएंगे जब भारत में महिलाओं आधी रात को भी बिना किसी डर से स्वतंत्र होकर चल सके। स्वातंत्र्य प्राप्ति के 78 सालों के बाद आज भी देश की कोने के नारियों, हमारी नन्ही मुन्नी बच्चियों के दारुण रुदन हमारे कान को चीर रहा है। नारी नर की ताकत ही नहीं, पूरे देश की कर्णधार है। दिल्ली, बिहार, आसाम, केरल, उत्तर प्रदेश, बेंगलुरु तक उठाने वाली इन कहरों पर सरकारी हृदय क्यों नहीं पिघल रहा है? मैं पूछ रहा हूँ, सरकारी हृदय क्यों नहीं पिघल रहा है? दोस्तों, क्या आपका हृदय पत्थर से बनी हुई है? मेरे शब्दों के अंत में मुझे यह कहना चाहूंगा कि सरकार इन कहरों पर उपयुक्त कदम उठाए और हमारे देश की नारियों को सख्त और सुरक्षित बनाए।
Mrs. Kashika Ansari, please.
Honorable Speaker, Madam, it's an irony that in India, the law makers themselves are law breakers. Any sensible human being cannot forget the miserable cry from Delhi, Uttar Pradesh and from Kerala. The children between the ages of 5 to 15 are the hardest of abuse and exploitation. The study found that 60
women and child welfare, please.
माननीय सभापति महोदय, हमारे मंत्रालय ने महिलाओं व बच्चों के खिलाफ अपराध में शामिल दोषियों को मृत्यु दंड देने के ऐतिहासिक कदम उठाया है। हमने महिलाओं व बच्चों की सुरक्षा के लिए व्यापक योजनाओं की शुरुआत की है, लेकिन महोदय, सदन के सदस्यों द्वारा उठाई गई चिंताओं से हम सहमत हैं। आपके सामने चंद पंक्तियां रखना चाहूंगी। दोस्तों, सदियों से महान है हम। दोस्तों, सदियों से महान है हम। सदैव सर्वस्व बना रहा है। अबला नहीं है हम नारी, अबला नहीं है हम नारी। आओ इस बात में हम अभिमान करें। आओ इस बात में हम अभिमान करें।
Now let us take up another calling attention motion. Honorable members will call attention of Minister concerned to the recent natural calamity happened in Wayanad.
Honorable Speaker, ma'am, Kerala witnessed a devastating natural catastrophe in the district of Wayanad, in which entire villages of Churanmala and Mundakai were destroyed. Not only the lives of the people who stayed there, but the entire livelihood have been destroyed and passed away. I would like to ask the Honorable Prime Minister, what kind of concrete steps have been taken to restore and rehabilitate the Wayanad victims?
Yes, we want to know what steps have been taken to rescue our victims.
कृपया संसद की मर्यादा बनाए रखें। शांति।
I stand with the people of Wayanad in this time of distress, and my heart goes to the people who have suffered. The people who have suffered. The rehabilitation work has already begun. People have started moving to safe areas. The rescue team was immediately sent to the area, properly monitored by the defense. The state of Kerala will have all necessary implements taken by our government.
Now the House will take up bill pertaining to introduction of Uniform Civil Code 2024. Law Minister, please.
Speaker, ma'am, I beg to move the bill which ensures the unity and integrity of our country. The bill which will wipe out discrimination. The bill that upholds the dignity of our nation. Article 44 of the Indian Constitution, which is one of the directive principles of state policy, says that the state shall endeavor to secure for its citizens a uniform civil code throughout the territory of India. It essentially means a common set of laws for all citizens, irrespective of their gender, caste, race, religion, language or place of birth. Speaker, ma'am, many of the laws of our country were made by different people from different regions at different periods of time. At the present, if we take 10 people, there exists more than 1,000 different laws between them. Speaker, ma'am, our government has already taken stringent measures like the abolishment of the Triple Talaq law and the abrogation of Article 370 as the foundation stones before the Uniform Civil Code bill. Speaker, ma'am, this bill is fully backed by constitutional provisions. Clause 1, Article 14 of our Indian Constitution says that the state shall not deny any person equality before the law or equal protections of the law within the territory of India. So no one is above the law of the land. Clause 2, Article 15 prohibits discrimination against any citizen on grounds of caste, race, religion, language or place of birth. So gender justice will be implemented. Clause 3, Article 372 of our Constitution says that all the laws imposed in the territory of India immediately before the commencement of this Constitution shall continue in force therein until altered, repealed or amended by a competent legislature or other competing authority. So all the personal laws will be removed and a uniform civil code will be established. Clause 4. Under Article 25, Clause 2 empowers the state to frame any law to regulate or restrict secular activity that may be associated with religious practices. So it is argued that Article 25 is no bar in having a uniform civil code. As backed by these constitutional provisions, the present government has brought forward the Uniform Civil Code Bill to this August House. According to the bill, the Uniform Civil Code will also help in reducing vote bank politics. B. The Uniform Civil Code is a sign of a modern, progressive nation where women are treated at par with men. Honorable Speaker Ma'am, I am confident that all the honorable members of this House, irrespective of their party affiliation, will welcome this bill on Uniform Civil Code 2024 for a better and brighter India. With these words, I now move the Uniform Civil Code Bill 2024.
Motion moved that the bill on Uniform Civil Code 2024 will be taken into consideration. Sonali Gupta, please.
इसके अंदर डालो नीचे
Shivanya Jetli, please. Honorable Speaker Ma'am, our esteemed Law Minister is highlighting the need to introduce the Uniform Civil Code in the pretext of a sentence given in the Constitution. The state shall endeavour to secure its citizens a uniform civil code throughout the territory of India. It is given only in the directive policy of the state policy. As such, it is not mandatory. Moreover, our government is trying to implement the majority agenda in India without giving due respect to the minority. In the pretext of bringing equality among men and women, what all human rights violations are being committed here. Our present government is just paving the way for political instability and social anarchy. My worthy parliamentarians, is this what we call democracy? Honorable Speaker Ma'am, so I humbly request our Law Minister to consider clauses 3 to 4 and withdraw his plan on introducing the Uniform Civil Code in this alarming situation. Mrs. Ananya Dixit, please. माननीय अध्यक्ष महोदया, भारत के शानदार इतिहास के पन्ने पलटने पर पता चलता है कि जब कभी सामाजिक परिवर्तन की चिंगारियां आमूल क्रांति की ओर अग्रसर हुई, तब प्रबुद्ध भारतीय जनता ने इसे समय एवं भूगोल की मांग मानकर अपनाया है। कहने का मतलब यह है कि वास्तव में यह बिल भी समय की मांग है। चाहे इस बिल को लागू करने में कितनी ही चुनौतियों का सामना क्यों न करना पड़े, सभ्यता एवं परंपरा में आस्था रखने वाली भारतीय जनता इस बिल को भी तहे दिल से अपनाएगी। मैं कानून मंत्री को अपना पूर्ण समर्थन देना चाहती हूँ और इस ऐतिहासिक कानून को अपनाने के लिए बधाई भी देती हूँ, जो भारत को एक बेहतर और उज्जवल भविष्य की ओर लेकर जाएगा।
The famous author George Orwell once remarked, all are equal, but some are more equal than others. Honorable Speaker Ma'am, what a utopian dream in a country like India, where we can see extreme inequalities in the distribution of income and wealth, where there are millions of landless people. A country where millions take shelter in the streets without any hope. Tell me, what can the Uniform Civil Code do for them? What are they eligible to inherit from them? Instead of implementing the Uniform Civil Code, first turn the attention of the government to give bread for the hungry, jobs for the jobless, and homes for the homeless, so that they will pray and praise the government in high-sounding words. I strongly oppose the bill proposed by the Law Minister.
Law Minister, please.
Madam, I am grateful to all the members who have supported this bill. I am also grateful to those members who have offered their constructive criticism. The very purpose of this bill is to bring equality and fraternity, through which cementing the concept of national unity and integration. I am aware of certain constitutional problems and practical difficulties in implementing this bill. I would like to make it clear that the members of the opposition party approach this bill with prejudice. This bill is not brought out in a hurry, and I would like to remind you that the father of the Indian Constitution dreamt of including this bill in our Constitution. It is due to our government that on the 78th Independence Day, the tricolor flag flew high from our states, homes and houses, irrespective of our difference. I don't want to name any political party, but the parties which came to power, one after another, tried to present this bill, but miserably failed. Only our government has shown the courage to take this bold and historic step. This bill will be entered in the golden annals of India. Madam, I would like to give my assurance to all the members of this august house that the worries and suggestions will be given due consideration while implementing it. Madam Speaker, the solemn objective of this bill is to bring equality and rule of law in our society. I once again thank you for your support and request your cooperation in implementing the measure. I request the House to pass the bill.
The question is that the bill on Uniform Civil Code 2024 be taken into consideration. Those who are in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Those who are against will say no. I think the ayes have it, the ayes have it, and the ayes have it. The motion is adopted. Clause by clause consideration. Now the question is whether the clause 3 to 4 stand part of the bill. Those who are in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Those who are against will say no. I think the ayes have it, the ayes have it, and the ayes have it. Clause 3 and 4 stand part of the bill. Now the question is that Clause 1, the enacted formula and the title stand part. Those who are in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Those who are against will say no. I think the ayes have it, the ayes have it, and the ayes have it. The motion is adopted. Law Minister, please.
Honorable Speaker, ma'am, I now move the Uniform Civil Code Bill 2024 be passed.
Motion moved. Bill is passed. Those who are in favor will say aye. Aye. Those who are against will say no. I think the ayes have it, the ayes have it, and the ayes have it. The bill is passed. The House is adjourned.
Dear children, give a big hand to the leaders of tomorrow. Give a big hand to the parliamentarians of tomorrow. Give a big hand to the national leaders of tomorrow. Dear students, with extreme happiness, I stand before you to reveal one secret. Our school got a chance to present the Youth Parliament program from 2015 onwards. Our children bagged first prizes at the regional level and also at the year after year. Few days before, please pray. We got a trophy from the Lok Sabha of India. We got a trophy from the Parliament of India for the stunning performance of your former students in the youth parliament. I think this is the right platform to hand over this trophy to our principal of our Vidyalaya. Madam, please. I request our principal madam to address the gathering. Madam, please. Very good morning to all of you. And let me congratulate each and every participant of this youth parliament presentation we have done here. All the participants and the teachers who gave them ample practice so that they could have an excellent performance on the stage. So once again a big hand for all of them. So all of you know that an honest and sincere government ruling side and a vigilant, spirited opposition. These are the pillars of any democracy. So here our children are practicing to be the leaders, the parliamentarians, and they have taken so much of effort to read about these topics, very relevant topics which have been discussed here on this platform. And they have learned so many new things, and they expressed their viewpoints and whatever they had to with such a lot of confidence here. And it never looked like they were participating in it for the first time. And I think you are all from class 9? Yes, all from class 9th only. Usually when we go for regional level competition and all, mostly we take children from higher classes. Some students from 9th also, but usually from 11th, 12th and sometimes from 10th standard. And class 9th is somewhat, every teacher knows this, that the children and the teachers, they find a bit of difficulties in the classes because that is a kind of an age that is a bit of troublesome for everyone, for the children themselves also. And at this stage, around 40, more than 40 students I think, from class 9, out of the 150 or 160, they are on the stage today and they have participated in a lot of learning, discussion of all relevant topics, just like parliamentarians, they spoke in front of all of you. You know how much confidence and spirit is required to stand before such a big audience and speak, and that also for the first time. So I'm overwhelmed by this program. I greatly appreciate how the children participated and we have lot of activities going on, and in the middle of it the teachers gave practice. So I hope that our children will, at least next year, will get an opportunity to go to the regional level, and we have online competition also. Every year we can participate in the online youth parliament competition. This year also we will participate in it. Now I feel very confident that we can do that, and I hope next year at least we will get another opportunity to start our victorious journey just like we had a few years back. So I hope this has been a very much learning experience for all the children who participated and all those who are witnessing it. And I hope you are inspired to participate and to be parliamentarians and national leaders in future. So congratulations to everybody once again. Thank you very much. Dear children, the much awaited time has come. I am sure you are curious to know the best speakers out of this 55 judges. Now, I already told you that we have an eminent panel of judges today. Our Vice Principal Sir, Sunita Madam and Akansha Madam. Now, I request our Vice Principal Sir to address the gathering and also announce the best speakers. Sir, please.
Good morning to all of you, respected Principal Madam, dear colleagues and my dear children. These students, they performed so well that for some time I thought that I was sitting in the real parliament, in the visitors gallery, watching the parliamentary procedures. So their speeches have made me absolutely speechless. And I congratulate all these students who prepared so well within such a short time. And the teacher led by Regimol Madam who guided them. Such long speeches they presented such a spontaneous manner as we speaking on the spot. So as Principal Madam already said, we are so overwhelmed that we are actually dumbstruck. No words to say. And I feel so proud that I am working in such a school where there are so many so talented students. I am really proud of you all. Regarding the judgment part, it was a very difficult task because all performed so well. But we have to decide the best speakers, so there are finer points to consider. So very soon I think results will be ready and we will be getting the results. Thank you. Here are the results. Be very attentive. The first position, perhaps some of you must have guessed already. The first position goes to chest number 10. He can be the future Law Minister of our country. The second position is backed by chest number 8. Second position. Minister of Welfare of Women and Children, I think. And third position goes to chest number 24. Chest number 24. Fourth position is awarded to chest number 33. Chest number 33. And fifth position goes to chest number 5. Chest number 5, fifth position. And sixth position goes to chest number 1. The honorable speaker. Yes, thank you.
There is a request to Regimon Madam that this should be continued throughout the year and at least once in a month this performance should be done with different topics. And the children will do it on their own under supervision of teachers. Do you agree, ma'am? Yes. Thank you. A word of thanks to Principal Madam and Vice Principal Sir for giving this wonderful opportunity, and also a big salute and a big thanks to all the youth